Untitled Gloves here, and this is the 8th video in the Kontakt from the Ground Up tutorial series. And today we're going to look at instrument headers. And we're really quick going to cover the last few features up here I haven't talked about yet. So if you click on that, it opens that panel. And you click it, you have to click the actual panel to get rid of it. This shows the amount of voices you have, the amount of memory being consumed by in your system. And then the panic button, this exclamation mark, means if you have a sound you can't get to be quiet, you hit this button and it's a sure way to make it be quiet. And then you have your CPU and disk meters here that kind of indicate that. Your view will minimize your view to your keyboard and your performance view, and then you unclick it to do that. So that's another way to change your view. So the instrument header. So the instrument headers are unanimous no matter what kind of thing you're dropping in there. So if we dropped in a, let's find a sample really quick. Packs, where's my project files, blah, 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 blah. Let's drop one of these in. And you see it gets an instrument header as well. So let's talk about what these menus and options are. This little logo thing right here, and we'll talk about how to put a logo there later on down the series, it opens up, this is called the performance view. And this is the thing that's scripted and allows you to do all sorts of cool things to the instrument. So maybe we want to change something. So that's the performance view. We'll talk about that later. But this toggles on and off. There's also a little PV right here. Also toggles it on and off. You have, I forgot what this is, the instrument edit. That's what it is. The instrument edit button. And it opens up all the scary menus that allow you to do all sorts of neat, cool things to your instrument. So we're going to get into this. But that's what opens up that. And you'll notice if you have a performance view open and you open up instrument edit, it automatically switches over. So that's important to know about. You have the name of your instrument you're working on, and you can go down, and this is a quick load. So this is not going to open up the files in the library that you're selecting from. Just so you know, this will open up quick load. But you can scroll through the files in this section by these left and right arrow keys. And then you have this little camera, which stands for your snapshot. We're not going to talk about snapshots currently because I don't use them. But if you do use them and you feel like it's important to know, maybe you could drop it in the comments. And then we have our information tab. So it's important to note that these two things switch the information shown here. I pretty much always keep it on the information tab. Shows you the amount of voices being played and the maximum amount you can have. And this may become important later on. If you hear voices getting cut out, it may be because of this. And another way to refer to this term is your polyphony setting. And so it's just the amount of voices you can have at any one time. So you may want to turn that up or down. You have your output, and this, if you click on it, it shows you what channel it's going to in your output tab that we talked about earlier. And if you create more channels, you'll be able to select which one you want it to go to. And that could be very important if you're routing things through your DAW. And then we have our MIDI channel. Now in standalone, only 16 channels are available. I mean, all 64 are available. So you have port A through port D. But in plugin mode, only 16 channels are available. So that's important to know. And then we have our memory, which just shows us the memory being consumed. We talked about this when we talked about the purge option, which also ties into purge right here. And you have your settings that you could do right here. It's the exact same thing as the purge tab up here. So go watch that video if you want to know what that does. You have solo and mute. Now let's say we've got a bunch of instruments loaded up and maybe they're all on the same channel, or they're on Omni, so they respond to every channel. But we have a problem with one of our instruments and we want to hear that one alone, so we can hit solo and it mutes all the others. And if we unclick solo, it unmutes everything. Oh, that's a good thing to know too. Just a quick experiment. If you already have something muted and you hit solo, it'll still solo it. But if you unsolo it, the things you had muted before, we'll close all the performance views. The things you had muted before, so that gets muted. But if you unmute it, it stays muted. So that's a nice option too. That's something I would expect it to do. And if we mute things, it only mutes that one thing. So if you want to hear how everything sounds except for this one thing, you can use that. Then you have our tuning option, and you could change the tuning. Maybe you have your samples are a little out of whack on one instrument and you need it to sound like it's in unison. You can use the tuning knob. And again, you hit Control and click to reset the value. You have your panning, left, right, and that just controls what speaker it comes out of. And you have your volume, and we talked about in the options how to change the default value to be 0 decibels or whatever you want there. And then we have our extra, so the X will get rid of the instrument, so gonzo. Save changes to instrument, we're not. Be careful when you save instruments because you don't want to overwrite your original file. And if you are to save an instrument, you should probably go into the files and use save as just to be safe, so that you keep your original file safe unless you plan to make a permanent change to your instrument. Then you have these little minus buttons right here, which minimize it even farther so that all you have is these basic controls, and you can't even change the volume. You just see the decibel meters. And you can open them up again using the plus, and then you can open them up further. And so that's instrument headers. They can be very useful, especially when you have a lot of things in your rack and it's not super important to be moving a lot of things around. So if you have any questions about that, drop it in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a blessed day.